people out there in the dark, thank you again for checking in. So we need to talk about the month of April. It is that time, my friends. So April, of course, April comes from the Latin word aprilis, which I think basically means to open or to flower, like flowers open or leaves, obviously signaling spring. I think there's some oddball references to Aphrodite, which is the Greek goddess, and certainly references to the Roman goddess Venus. But that's basically April, where the name comes from. April the 1st, 1582, in France, they switch over from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, effectively creating April Fool's Day, because you can imagine news didn't travel so fast in 1582, and rural areas, which I can only imagine what a rural area was in 1582, they went several years not knowing that April the 1st wasn't the new year and that January the 1st was the new year. Hence coining the phrase April Fool's Day. So April the 2nd, 1513, this cat named Ponce de Leon stumbles onto Florida. He actually lands in an area today known as St. Augustine, Florida. He claims Florida for the country of Spain. And today, St. Augustine is actually the oldest city in the continental United States. On April the 2nd, 1792, Congress actually establishes the first U.S. mint in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. April the 3rd, 1860, the Pony Express is created. Now, interesting thing about the Pony Express, it was actually owned by Wells Fargo Bank for a spell, and they ended up selling it to American Express, and it only lasted a couple years. I could probably talk about the Pony Express for half an hour. We'll do that another time, though. But again, the Pony Express lasted a little less than 2 years, I think about 18 months, and it was essentially replaced by the telegraph. April the 4th, 1949, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, 12 nations signed this treaty, effectively working together as a defense network to stop the Soviet Union from their expansion into Western Europe. April the 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King is assassinated. April the 6th, 1895, after 1,500 years, Greece finally hosts the Olympics again. What's known today as the Modern Olympics. They obviously hosted the original Olympics, but it was 1,500 years between hosting gigs. I thought that was kind of interesting. 1917, April the 6th, the United States enters World War I. 1994, April the 6th, Rwanda, the genocide begins there. About 500,000 people are killed in Rwanda. 1994. April the 8th, 1913, the 17th Amendment is ratified. Very interesting and important amendment. This is what creates the voting system for U.S. senators. Prior to 1913, U.S. senators were actually nominated or picked by state legislators. Can you imagine? 1913, we get to vote for them. Woohoo! April the 9th, 1865, the United States Civil War ends. April the 9th. April the 9th, 1866, even though President Andrew Johnson vetoes it, Congress still manages to pass the first civil rights amendment, or civil rights legislation, I suppose, giving blacks U.S. citizenship. April the 11th, 1970, famed Apollo Mission 13 launches. And those three guys come back to Earth, I believe, on April the 17th. We're all familiar with what happened on Apollo 13. April the 12th, 1945, FDR dies. 1961, Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human in space. 1961. Amazing. 1981, the first space shuttle launches, the Columbia. A lot of space stuff going on in April. April the 14th, 1775. So about 90 years prior to blacks getting citizenship, once again, Philadelphia becomes the first, we'll say city, I guess abolitionist city that allows black people to be free. April the 14th, 1865, Lincoln is shot, President Lincoln. April the 15th, 1912, HMS Titanic strikes an iceberg and sinks in the Atlantic Ocean. 2,224 souls were aboard, and the Carpathia managed to save just 700. That was in 1912, April the 15th. April the 16th, 1862, Congress finally abolishes slavery, and the South wept. April the 17th, 1961, the Bay of Pigs incident happened, 1961. April the 18th, 1775, we all know about the famous ride of Paul Revere. It was actually Paul Revere and this other cat named William Dawes rode through the town of Boston, warning everyone that the British were coming. The British are coming! Also, on the 18th of April in 1906, San Francisco, the famous 1906 earthquake, which basically destroyed San Francisco. April the 19th, 1775, that was the start of the American Revolution. April the 19th, 1993, in Waco, Texas, this cat named David Koresh and his Branch Davidian religious cult, his little farmhouse catches fire and 82 people die, 17 of which are children. A couple years later, on the same day in 1995, this cat named Timothy McVeigh blows up a federal building in Oklahoma. I don't honestly know how many people perished there, but I want to say it was like 150, 122. April the 20th, 1999, Littleton, Colorado. 2 kids calling themselves the Trench Coat Mafia shoot up a school. One of the worst school shootings in U.S. history. April the 21st, 1918, during World War I, this cat named Manfred von Richthofen is shot down. He's better known as the Red Baron. His plane was finally shot down and he was killed. In 2 years, he shot down over 80 planes, the Red Baron. So Manfred von Richthofen received full military honors in 1918. April the 22nd, 1864, the phrase "In God We Trust" was put on U.S. coins for the very first time. April the 24th, 1800, the Library of Congress is established. Approximately 10,000 items are added each day to the Library of Congress. And I am proud to say, in 2003, my novel was added to the Library of Congress. There's the ISBN number right there. You can actually go to the Library of Congress and get a copy of my book. And I think that's amazing. It's one of the few things I'm very, very proud of. April the 24th, 1915, the first modern era genocide begins when the Turks begin to slaughter the Armenians. I don't know how long it lasts, but it's estimated that between 800,000 and 2 million Armenians were massacred in the Ottoman Empire. 26th of April, 1986, Chernobyl, the meltdown in Ukraine, worst nuclear disaster in history. April the 28th, 1945, Mussolini is shot. They string him up and some of his mistress upside down, I don't know, in the middle of some town, and people throw rocks at him and his girlfriends. April the 29th, 1992, Rodney King, the 4 police officers charged in his beating were acquitted, starting a riot that lasts in Los Angeles for I forget how many days now, but for several days. April the 30th, 1789, George Washington is the very first president of the United States of America. And April the 30th, 1948, the country of Israel is created. Isn't that interesting? A lot of stuff has happened in April. Way more than March. About as many, I suppose, in February. But all in all, I would say April was a pretty interesting and important month. A lot of stuff has happened. Anyway, I hope you get a kick out of these. I get a kick out of them. So much stuff happens in history. I just always want to take a brief moment and sort of talk about or mention. There are many, many more events, obviously. Births. I know in April, there's lots of important people who are born, or people who are influential in history. I don't know if important is the right word, but I just like to mention these things. So, in this world, when you could be anything you want, you be kind, you be humble, you be forgiving. You know what? And if you get a chance, read my book, and you be melting snow. Bye-bye.